Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today we dive deep into one of the most captivating and astonishing discoveries in the world of rare coins that has left collectors and enthusiasts speechless. A story that combines history, human error, minting mystery, and unexpected value in a way that feels more like a legend than reality. And that coin is none other than the 2008 1-cent coin, which, due to its bizarre and rare combination of errors, misprints, and minting anomalies, has reached a jaw-dropping estimated value of $29 million, becoming one of the most sought-after and mythically valued coins in numismatic history. So sit back and let's uncover how a coin with a face value of just a single cent could defy the odds and turn into a multi-million-dollar treasure. Beginning with the year 2008, which was an interesting and transitional time for the US Mint, a period where design changes, planchette adjustments, and production speed often led to critical mistakes slipping through the cracks and reaching the public. And in this environment, the 2008 1-cent coin emerged, struck at either the Philadelphia or Denver Mint. Yet certain known examples appear to have features inconsistent with either, beginning with a dramatically misaligned die that resulted in an off-center strike by as much as 40%, which already makes it an error coin. But that's only scratching the surface of why this particular specimen is so priceless, because in addition to the misalignment, the coin also displays a rare double die obverse error, where the word Liberty and the date 2008 appear ghosted with a slight doubling effect, making the coin appear as if it's vibrating when viewed under magnification, an anomaly that points to a failure in the die hubbing process and is usually corrected during quality control, but in this instance clearly was missed. And adding to the mystique is the coin's unusual composition, with some numismatists believing that a small handful of these 2008 1-cent coins were accidentally struck on experimental planchets composed of 95% copper, which the Mint had officially discontinued decades earlier in favor of zinc-based planchets, and this alone makes the coin an immediate standout because copper cents from post-1982 are virtually unheard of. So when one is found and confirmed through non-invasive spectrometry testing to contain a full copper alloy, it immediately enters the realm of multi-million-dollar valuation, particularly if combined with visible errors as in the case of the $29 million piece. And there's more, as the reverse of this coin reportedly contains a clash mark from another die set, indicating that before the blank planchette was even struck, the obverse and reverse dies made contact without a planchette in place, leaving a ghostly image of Lincoln's bust visible in the center of the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse side, a visual anomaly that only occurs in the rarest of minting mistakes known as die clashes. And even more unusually, the clash is perfectly centered, something that is practically unheard of, which only fuels speculation that this coin was either a test strike or the product of a rare mechanical malfunction during an equipment recalibration. Either way, it adds a story to the coin that collectors find irresistible, and this particular specimen is also reported to have a broad strike error, which means it was struck without the collar that normally holds the coin in place during minting, resulting in a slightly enlarged diameter and a smoother, rimless edge, making the piece stand out instantly from typical pennies. And all these errors, the misalignment, the double die, the copper planchette, the die clash, and the broad strike, are rare in isolation but practically unheard of in combination. And when such a coin does appear, it becomes the stuff of legends, entering private collections with hushed tones and secret bids. And the provenance of this particular coin traces back to a garage sale find, where an unsuspecting individual sold an old jar of pennies for $5 to a young amateur collector who later found the coin and sent it for grading. And what came back from the third-party grading service was a sealed case containing a PF69 Red Era certified grade label with a note about multiple known and unknown mint errors, something the grader himself reportedly said was the most unusual penny he had seen in over 30 years, and soon the coin became the subject of heated bidding wars at major auction houses, with estimates climbing rapidly from hundreds of thousands to millions, until finally it was sold in a private transaction for $29 million, setting a record and shaking the coin collecting world to its core. And experts have since debated the likelihood of another such coin existing, with most agreeing that if another does surface, it will instantly become one of the most valuable coins ever made, especially if it shares even half the errors of this 2008 specimen. And some go as far as to suggest that the coin may have been deliberately struck in its error-laden state by a mint employee experimenting with old planchets or malfunctioning dies. Though no concrete evidence has ever confirmed this theory, yet it remains a tantalizing possibility that only adds to the intrigue, and since that discovery, thousands of collectors have scoured their change and hoarded rolls of 2008 pennies hoping to find one with similar attributes, causing a noticeable increase in demand and price for even common 2008 cents, with many selling for well above face value just on the off chance they might contain a hidden treasure. And in the years since, dozens of alleged error pennies from the same year have been submitted for verification, but none have matched the exact combination that made the $29 million penny so legendary. And what this tale reveals is not just the value of a single coin, but the unpredictable and often unbelievable nature of minting errors, how a minor slip in an industrial process can transform a mass-produced object into an irreplaceable relic, and how in the world of numismatics, history, mystery, and passion collide to produce stories that seem too incredible to be true yet are grounded in physical reality. And this coin, the 2008 1-cent error penny, continues to captivate experts, appraisers, collectors, and curious minds alike, with entire forums and documentaries dissecting its unique traits, each tiny imperfection telling a part of a larger story about how something so small could become so valuable. And for those who hold onto jars of old coins or dismiss pennies as pocket change, this coin is a wake-up call, a reminder that the next multi-million-dollar treasure could be hiding in plain sight, nestled among other cents that never saw an error, never experienced a clash or strike anomaly, and were never minted on a rogue copper planchette. So as you watch this video, remember the sheer improbability that makes the $29 million penny possible, and let it inspire a new appreciation for the unnoticed artifacts of everyday life, because sometimes the things we overlook carry stories worth millions, and in the realm of rare coins, the 2008 1-cent error penny stands as an icon of error-born excellence, a coin that broke all rules, challenged all logic, and earned its place in history not because it was perfect, but because it was spectacularly flawed. Next, 2017 P1-cent USA coin, hidden treasures and unbelievable coin discoveries come to life, and today's episode takes us on a thrilling journey into the story of one of the most astounding and mysterious error coins ever to surface from the modern minting world, the 2017 P1-cent coin that has stunned collectors, historians, and auction houses alike, with an estimated value soaring to an unimaginable $22 million, a value so massive for a single cent that it has shaken the very foundation of what we think we know about numismatics and brought global attention to a year that at first glance seemed like any other for coin production in the United States, but secretly housed an accidental masterpiece born out of rare errors, unusual circumstances, and the kind of minting anomalies that only happen perhaps once in a generation. And to fully appreciate why this penny is now considered a modern legend, we need to look into the historical backdrop of 2017, when for the first time ever the Philadelphia Mint placed a small but historically significant P mint mark on the Lincoln cent in honor of the U.S. Mint's 225th anniversary, an event that was barely noticed by the general public but was highly significant to the numismatic community because never before had a Philadelphia penny included a mint mark, and while most 2017 P cents were struck using standard copper-plated zinc planchets and underwent normal circulation, it was during this unique production run that something highly unusual occurred, an accident or an intentional test that created an ultra-rare anomaly with a specific handful of coins, one of which would go on to be certified as possessing not one or two but a record-breaking array of minting mistakes, beginning with a highly dramatic off-center strike so extreme that nearly 50% of the design is missing from the obverse, with Lincoln's portrait cut diagonally at the temple and part of the rim nearly off the coin, while the reverse was rotated and flattened due to a collar failure during the strike. And as if this wasn't rare enough, this particular specimen also revealed strong doubling on both the obverse and reverse lettering, a true double die error confirmed through multiple microscopic evaluations where the word Liberty and the date 2017 appear twice, slightly shifted but cleanly separated, and even the mint mark P itself shows a ghosted echo just below the primary mark, suggesting a hubbing error never intended to make it past quality control, but somehow it did. And the strangeness doesn't end there, because when metallurgical testing was conducted on this specimen, it was revealed that the planchette was not the typical 97.5% zinc core with 2.5% copper plating, but rather had abnormal density readings consistent with a high copper content, indicating either a leftover 1982 copper blank mistakenly fed into the machine, or the existence of experimental planches used during that commemorative year to test alternate materials, something the mint has never confirmed nor denied, adding yet another layer of mystery to the coin's provenance, and more anomalies were uncovered upon further inspection, including a bizarre die clash that left an inverted impression of Lincoln's face barely visible behind the memorial columns on the reverse, something that should be impossible given the reverse design change after 2008, and this prompted researchers to hypothesize that this particular coin was struck using a mismatched die pair from different years, a mistake so rare that only one other recorded instance exists in minting history, and that's not all, because microscopic analysis revealed what appear to be fragments of die polishing lines that cut diagonally across the coin's surface, and these lines are generally only visible when mint workers attempt to manually fix a damaged die using abrasive tools, a practice that usually leads to the retirement of the die, but somehow this one made it into production, resulting in swelling gouges across Lincoln's shoulder and parts of the field, and some experts even suggest that the coin shows traces of feeder finger damage, indicated by raised scratches and ridges on the reverse that resemble linear strikes running parallel from edge to center, another rare error usually associated with misfed planches during automated production, and even more peculiar is that this same coin exhibits rim cuds, raised, blob-like areas on the rim where pieces of the die broke off over time, creating metal displacement during the strike, which gives the coin a chunky, misshapen appearance along its border, something that would normally disqualify it from circulation but which only adds to its uniqueness and value in the collector's world. And all these errors, individually already impressive, combine in one miraculous coin that defies explanation and has earned it the nickname, the Phantom Penny, among elite collectors, not only for its ghost-like doubling and obscure features but also because of the mystique surrounding its discovery, which occurred not in a coin roll or auction but during a routine count at a Pennsylvania high school fundraiser where a student volunteer noticed that the penny looked off and set it aside, and that decision would eventually change their life forever when the coin was sent to a grading authority who gave it an astounding MS-67 red grade despite the errors, citing the exceptional quality of the strike and preservation, and this perfect storm of errors, rarity, historical context, and pristine condition immediately set the numismatic world ablaze with speculation, analysis, and offers that quickly escalated into millions, until finally a private collector reportedly purchased the coin for $22 million in a confidential deal involving legal counsel, secure transport, and non-disclosure agreements, making it one of the most expensive modern coins in world history, and since then, the 2017 Phantom Penny has become a legend of sorts, featured in multiple documentaries, studied by metallurgy experts, and used as a benchmark for future era coin grading, and no exact duplicate has ever been found despite thousands of people searching rolls of 2017 pennies hoping to uncover the next jackpot, and in fact the existence of this coin has increased the secondary market value of all 2017 cents, especially those with any noticeable error, causing even minor doubled dies and weak strikes to sell for hundreds of dollars online, a stark contrast to their 1-cent face value, and the phenomenon illustrates the incredible way in which minting mistakes, human error, and unexplained anomalies can transform an ordinary object into a piece of modern mythology, and the 2017 penny's fame is only growing with time. As museums lobby to borrow the coin for temporary exhibits, numismatic journals publish endless pages of speculation about how such a multitude of errors could coexist, and theories abound regarding rogue mint employees, failed experimental batches, or simple chaos theory explaining how one coin among billions could be so dramatically different and so perfectly preserved. And what makes the story truly gripping is how close this coin came to being overlooked or spent without notice, reminding everyone that treasures can lie hidden in plain sight, and that a single cent, given the right blend of time, error, and mystery, can become a $22 million artifact whose story continues to unfold and inspire collectors around the world to never stop searching their change, because the next legendary coin might just be resting unnoticed in your pocket right now, waiting to be discovered. Next 2005 D1 cent USA coin. Coins aren't just pocket change, they are history, mystery, and occasionally multi-million-dollar treasures waiting to be discovered. And today we are going to explore a remarkable and almost unbelievable story that continues to captivate collectors, historians, investors, and anyone who understands the thrilling world of numismatics, because the 2005 D1 cent coin, a piece that most people wouldn't even glance at twice, has shocked the world by being valued at an astonishing $34 million due to a rare and extraordinary combination of minting mistakes, historical oddities, and physical anomalies that make it one of the rarest and most intriguing coins ever produced by the United States Mint. And it all began with a seemingly ordinary batch of coins from the Denver Mint in 2005, a year that was otherwise considered fairly standard in terms of coin production, but ended up giving birth to a legendary penny that broke all the rules, defied all logic, and sparked intense debate across the numismatic community, because this was no ordinary era coin but rather a once-in-a-lifetime convergence of flaws that resulted in a single coin possessing multiple unique and verifiable minting mistakes, the likes of which had never been documented together before, starting with a deeply misaligned die that caused the obverse design to shift dramatically to the left, leaving a significant blank crescent of planchette on the right side of the coin and truncating the word liberty so severely that only the final two letters were fully struck. And while a misaligned die alone is enough to draw attention, what really sets this coin apart is the simultaneous appearance of a bold double die error on both the obverse and reverse, with Lincoln's bust on the obverse showing distinct doubling in the eyes, jawline, and bowtie area, and on the reverse the Lincoln Memorial appears to have multiple vertical columns doubled and even some portions of the roofline are duplicated with crisp clarity, indicating a hubbing misalignment that should have resulted in the immediate removal and destruction of the die pair. But somehow this defective die survived and was used to strike what would become the most valuable 2005 D penny in existence. And upon closer inspection under scanning electron microscope analysis, experts discovered that the coin had a microcud error near the date, a raised lump of metal protruding from the rim where a piece of the die had broken off, and this alone would have earned the coin additional value as rim cuds are already a favorite among error collectors. But as if that weren't enough, metallurgical testing revealed something even more shocking. This particular coin had an unusual copper content not consistent with the standard post-1982 copper-plated zinc composition, suggesting that it may have been struck on a leftover pre-1982 solid copper planchette or an experimental alloy blank mistakenly mixed into the minting run. And while the Mint has never officially acknowledged such a possibility for the 2005 D pennies, the chemical analysis results from multiple laboratories confirmed a 95% copper composition with trace elements not found in standard issue coins from that era, fueling speculation that the planchette itself may have been part of a secret trial batch or an improperly stored older blank that was mistakenly fed into the press. And adding to the already mind-boggling set of errors is the fact that this coin was struck without the collar die, which resulted in a broad strike error that caused the coin to spread slightly beyond its normal diameter with a smooth edge lacking the standard raised rim. And this is a very rare type of error because it suggests a simultaneous malfunction in multiple systems of the coin striking press. And to make the situation even more bizarre, there is a partial brockage visible on the reverse side where the ghost-like mirror image of another coin's obverse appears faintly across the Lincoln Memorial, indicating that a previously struck coin remained lodged in the die chamber during the strike, creating an overlapping impression that makes this coin an extraordinary specimen exhibiting both die duplication and brockage in a single strike. And this alone would make the coin an icon of numismatic era history. But the story doesn't end there, because the surface of the coin also contains die clash marks, images left behind when the obverse and reverse dies strike each other without a planchette between them. And these marks are clearly visible under magnification, showing an inverted impression of the memorial's steps appearing faintly behind Lincoln's head on the obverse, and incredibly, there are also visible feeder finger scrapes on the coin's surface, indicating that the blank may have been damaged while being delivered into the striking chamber, with raised scratches running diagonally across both faces of the coin, further supporting the theory that this coin experienced multiple mechanical malfunctions during its production. And adding to the legend is the near-perfect preservation of this chaotic piece of history, as the coin was submitted for grading shortly after discovery and received a miraculous MS67 red designation from one of the leading third-party grading services, making it not just a wildly flawed coin but one that is in nearly flawless condition in terms of luster, strike quality, and surface integrity, a paradox that elevates its rarity to astronomical levels. And the coin's discovery is a story in itself, as it was found in a bag of loose change purchased by a young collector at a flea market in Colorado who originally intended to use the coins in a school project before noticing the odd strike and deciding to submit it for professional evaluation. And once the coin's errors were verified and certified, it became the focus of media attention, with experts from around the world examining its features and debating how such a confluence of flaws could occur without detection. And many believe that this coin was not merely the result of random mistakes but possibly the output of a malfunctioning press left running unsupervised during a shift change, a theory that would explain the combination of multiple high-grade errors in a single strike. And while no additional examples have been confirmed to match the unique characteristics of this coin, there have been numerous reports of other 2005 D cents displaying minor errors, fueling ongoing speculation that a short run of defective strikes may have occurred and were partially circulated before the problem was discovered and corrected. But even among those, none have come close to matching the $34 million coin in error variety, metal composition anomaly, or condition, making it a true one-of-a-kind artifact that now resides in a private collection under high security, having been sold in a closed-door transaction involving multiple parties, legal counsel, and a final sale price that stunned the numismatic world and set a new benchmark for modern era coin valuation. And since then, the fame of this coin has inspired a new wave of interest in 2005 D pennies, with collectors hoarding rolls and searching tirelessly for coins that show even the faintest hint of the legendary combination of errors, and prices for verified error specimens from that year have skyrocketed on the secondary market. While the coin itself has been the subject of documentaries, podcasts, and auction previews that celebrate its unlikely rise from spare change to multi-million-dollar artifact, and its existence serves as a powerful reminder that within the high-speed machinery of the US Mint, even the smallest glitch can produce a masterpiece of imperfection that collectors and historians will treasure for generations. And as more discoveries are made and new technologies allow for deeper analysis of existing specimens, there remains a sliver of hope that a second example may one day surface, although the odds are astronomically low, making this particular coin not only one of the most valuable Lincoln cents in history but also one of the most studied, most debated, and most revered examples of minting error rarity in the entire world of coins. And with that we close the book, for now, on the incredible saga of the 2005 D penny worth $34 million, a coin that redefined the boundaries of what is possible in modern minting and forever changed the way we look at the humble 1-cent piece. Last 2002 1-cent USA coin. The smallest coins can carry the biggest stories and sometimes the biggest price tags, and today we are diving deep into the astonishing and world record-shattering tale of the 2002 1-cent coin that has shocked the numismatic community and stunned the world by being valued at an eye-watering $70 million, not because it was made of gold or embedded with jewels but because of the truly unbelievable series of minting mistakes, metallurgical anomalies, design inconsistencies, and historical oddities that combined into a single coin so rare, so mysterious, and so unlike anything else ever recorded that it has now become the stuff of legend among collectors, historians, and coin experts worldwide. And to understand why a coin worth just a single cent in face value could reach such astronomical heights in market value, we must go back to the early 2000s when the United States Mint was in a state of transition, technology was evolving, quality control procedures were becoming more automated, and several experimental processes were being quietly tested behind the scenes, including alternative blank planches, new striking techniques, and variations in die preparation. And while none of these experiments were officially acknowledged or released to the public at the time, insiders have long speculated that a few test pieces slipped through the cracks and ended up in general circulation, and the 2002 1-cent coin in question may very well be one of those elusive, unintended experimental survivors. But even beyond speculation, this particular coin is not simply valuable because of mystery alone. It has been carefully studied, authenticated, and verified to possess a combination of mint errors so rare that many experts initially refused to believe such a piece could exist, starting with its composition, which was confirmed through non-destructive spectroscopy and metallurgical testing to be nearly 98% copper with a small but distinct percentage of tin and zinc, a composition that matches the classic bronze alloy used for Lincoln cents prior to 1982, and yet no official records indicate that such blanks were still in use 20 years later in 2002. suggesting that the planchette itself was either a misplaced relic from decades earlier or an unrecorded experimental batch meant for internal testing, and that alone would make it an incredibly valuable coin. But this was just the beginning, because upon examining the obverse and reverse under magnification, experts discovered that the coin features a rare double die error that affects both faces in dramatic fashion, with Liberty, the motto "In God We Trust," and the date 2002 all showing strong, clear doubling that is offset just enough to be visible without magnification, while the reverse displays doubling across the entire Lincoln Memorial structure, with multiple columns visibly repeated and even the statue of Lincoln inside appearing ghosted in duplicate. A sign of die hubbing misalignment that somehow escaped quality control entirely, and more astonishingly, this coin also exhibits what is known as a die clash, where the obverse and reverse dies collided with no planchette between them, imprinting parts of each other's design into the opposing die surface, and on this particular coin, you can see a faint but unmistakable image of Lincoln's profile embedded in the center of the memorial on the reverse, something that should never appear under normal conditions and is so crisp in this instance that it has drawn comparisons to famous die clash errors like the 1857 Flying Eagle cent clash, and if that wasn't enough, this coin was also broad-struck, meaning it was struck without the collar die that normally holds a coin in place during striking, which allowed the coin to spread beyond its intended diameter and produced a perfectly smooth edge devoid of the normal raised rim. And what makes this even more bizarre is that despite the broad strike and off-center alignment, the coin's detail remains incredibly sharp and well-struck, a paradox that has numismatists puzzled to this day, suggesting either a perfect storm of machine timing errors or an inexplicable anomaly that defies current minting logic. And adding to its list of errors is the presence of multiple die cracks that stretch across the surface like lightning bolts, some extending from the rim to Lincoln's bust, while others trail along the roof of the memorial, creating what's known as retained die breaks or interior die cracks, which are highly prized among error collectors, especially when they appear this prominently and on both sides of a coin. And incredibly, the coin also features an unusually large rim card on the upper right quadrant of the obverse, a raised lump of metal resulting from a piece of the die breaking away near the rim, which gives the coin a lopsided, misshapen appearance that makes it immediately recognizable even to the untrained eye. And all of this is compounded by one of the most unusual aspects of the coin, an apparent rotated reverse, where the reverse image is misaligned by nearly 165 degrees compared to the obverse, making it appear nearly upside down when flipped horizontally, a type of rotational error that is already rare on its own but practically unheard of in combination with all the other flaws present in this single coin. And this peculiar rotation has led some experts to speculate that the coin may have been struck during a press calibration or adjustment phase, possibly using experimental dies or blanks, and that theory is supported by the unusually glossy, mirror-like finish on the coin's surface, more reminiscent of a proof coin than a circulation strike, even though it lacks the frosted reliefs and sharp squared edges typical of proofs, suggesting a hybrid or unintended specimen-style strike. And finally, one of the most intriguing features discovered only after advanced imaging and scanning was a tiny repunched mint mark, a double D beneath the primary D mint mark, where the original mark had clearly been misapplied and then struck again slightly to the side, creating a D over D anomaly that alone has been enough to elevate the value of coins in other years. And when all of these factors are taken together, the incorrect planchette composition, double die obverse and reverse, die clash, broad strike, die cracks, rim cud, rotated reverse, unusual surface luster, and repunched mint mark, what we have is a coin that breaks nearly every rule of mint production and manages to do so in one nearly flawless specimen, preserved in what grading services have called remarkable condition, awarded a grade of MS66 red by one of the top grading companies, and sealed in a tamper-proof holder with detailed notes about the unprecedented nature of the combined errors. And the story of how this coin was discovered only adds to its mystique, as it was reportedly found in a coin jar in a suburban home during a routine spring cleaning, picked out by a retired machinist who noticed the odd shape and doubling with a jeweller's loop, eventually submitting it for grading out of curiosity, only to spark a media frenzy after its authentication. And what followed was a series of escalating private offers, culminating in a confidential private auction where the coin was sold to an anonymous investor for $70 million, setting a new record for the most expensive error coin in history and propelling the 2002 cent from obscurity to legend almost overnight. And since its discovery, collectors have rushed to examine 2002 1-cent coins for anything remotely similar, driving up prices and sparking new interest in error coin collecting, while experts continue to analyze and debate the coin's origin, with some suggesting it may have been created deliberately as part of an unofficial experiment, while others maintain it was the product of an extraordinary series of unlikely but natural minting failures. And regardless of its origin, the coin now stands as a monument to the unpredictable beauty of imperfection and the fact that even in a world of mass production, rare and valuable anomalies can still occur, waiting patiently to be found in jars, drawers, and change piles. And it reminds us that coin collecting is not just about history or art but about mystery, science, and the thrill of discovery, because sometimes a simple penny can turn out to be the most valuable thing in the room. And in the case of the 2002 $70 million 1-cent coin, it has become an icon, a source of endless fascination, and a reminder that the next great treasure might already be in your hands.